Good morning. Welcome to Trading Hour. It's a brand new week. I'm Reema Tendulkar. With me is Surbhi Upadhyay, and it's a new fiscal. And what a solid start to the year has been. The Nifty's raced off to all-time high levels.
Well, starting in style, right, Reema?
Absolutely.
And the bulls will not be complaining. In fact, they're telling us a story about how confident they are and how much they are in charge, absolutely, right? So I was just taking a look at today's rally just to keep things in context. I mean, today you actually got the twin engines firing together. Don't want to jinx it, but the banks and the IT side of the market, both are, for the time being, holding up pretty okay. The bank Nifty is actually, up almost in step with the Nifty, not too much of a gap. In fact, the bank Nifty is now outpacing the Nifty with a gain of almost 0.9%. Not just these two. Look at the broader market. I mean, you've got real estate doing really well. A lot of the metal and commodity stocks, by the way, are firing away. We've got very good PMI numbers from China. Manufacturing PMI in China moving to expansion zone after being in contraction for 5 months. That's in general powered up the entire commodity complex, and that's showing up. Let's pull that graphic back, the one that we just fired for you. That's really telling us a story of how this market has literally pulled back from the little correction that we had, the broader market. So the Nifty Bank is about 2.2% away from the peak. The mid-cap index is barely 2% off the all-time highs now. The small-cap index has still got a little bit of a catch-up to do. But we've, of course, got, a very strong recovery from that shakeout that we had in the middle of March. Talking about the advanced decline ratio today, look at the breadth, and really it illustrates the point. There were days, Reema, you'd remember, we'd had 100 stocks advancing and 2,000 stocks declining. The screen's completely reversed. It's gone back to what it was. Look at that picture. Over 2,100 stocks on the advanced
at that
side.
time, you remember in February and March, when we used to see the markets declining, everyone was panicking.
Yeah.
And now in hindsight, it doesn't even feel like a correction because it wasn't much. It just feels like a little bit of a misstep, a little bit of a wobble.
No, absolutely. And that's what, all the experts that we spoke to during that phase in time, Vijay Kedia, Mr. Prashant Khemka.
All said, don't panic.
All said, yeah.
But the market sentiment was that you felt panicky, anxious, but now in hindsight, all is fine.
No, absolutely. And in fact, sort of plugging in our show as well, in case you haven't watched it, my conversation with Ramdev Agrawal, even on Market Cafe, he kept making that point that keep your eye on the bigger picture. Be patient because there's a lot happening in this economy, and that's what you want to sort of keep an eye on. In fact, I mean, just to round that up, the factors, that are working for this market, that have managed to start the year with such a bang, and this is the third great year that we're getting in this market. By the way, earnings growth expectations by most brokerages for FY25 are still very, very solid. We're talking 15%, at least 15% earnings growth for the Nifty overall. And then let's not forget the RBI comes in. This week, we're not expecting a change, but the overall expectation is that we will be in a benign liquidity environment as we go forward, globally as well as perhaps locally. So there's no reason to worry from a macro or a liquidity standpoint. And then last but not the least, of course, you and me are buying surging retail inflows, and that's also a very, very solid pillar that is supporting the market. But that's a lot about the market. Let's talk about one of those big engines, right? I said twin engines firing, IT and banks. So it's going to be all eyes on IT, Reema, from here on. And the street would want to hope that the positive momentum can continue. And at least the IT guys don't disappoint. What are you now picking up?
Well, so the first number which will be out will be TCS on 12th of April. That's next Friday. And that kickstarts the earnings season, right? Start of a new year, come April, and all the, brokerage preview notes start pouring in. So we got about 5 of them this morning. So we've got Kotak, Jefferies, Morgan Stanley, MK, and JM Financial on the IT expectations. So I thought that since, the big focus is going to be on IT and the number, the guidance for FY25, it's not going to be about the March quarter. That's done and dusted. So I said, let's just quickly at least put out the, numbers for next year. And that is the number on your screen. As you can see, for Infi, on an average, the street is expecting about a 2 to 6% growth. 2% at the lower end, 6% at the upper end. This is FY25 constant currency revenue growth. For HCL Tech, the street expectations vary from 4% at the lower end, going up to 8% at the upper end. So these are the broad numbers in terms of expectations. There you have the broad range for Infi, 2 to 6%. For HCL Tech, it's 4 to 8%. What are brokerages saying? Kotak says expect an improvement. FY25 is better than FY24, but not enough, not encouraging enough. They've lowered their revenue estimates across the board by 0 to 3%. And just to illustrate that point, this is Kotak's estimates for Infi. So earlier, they were expecting a 6.6% revenue growth for FY25. That's been brought down to 5%. For FY26, sorry, that second number should be FY26, they were closer to 10% and now they're down to 8.7%. So basically, after the Accenture disappointment and the way this quarter has panned out with no material improvement in demand, brokerages have lowered their revenue forecast. Jeffrey says, even after, currently the market expectations are higher than what the companies are likely to report, and therefore we could see earnings cuts. Morgan Stanley has already cut EPS estimates by 2 to 11% ahead of the numbers, but they have upgraded in HCL Tech to an overweight. And the reason is that amongst the lot, they believe HCL Tech offers you better visibility. And you saw that comparison in Infy and HCL Tech. Infy was a 2 to 6% guidance, and for HCL Tech, it could go as high up, as 6 to 8% too. JM Financial believes that, when the guidance comes out, there is a possibility of a correction, and that might provide a good entry opportunity. A quick word on the top picks, from these brokerages. Infy was the one where we saw, successive revenue downgrades through the course of FY24. Yeah. Even for next year, it's not that the street is expecting, great shakes, right? Big growth numbers.
It's 2 to 6%.
It's 2 to 6%. Yeah. But yet, Infy comes up as the top pick for Kotak. It comes up as the top pick, one of the top picks for Morgan Stanley, and it's also the top pick for Jefferies. So, I just want to put that out on the board that, brokerages are still betting on Infy. And as you can see, a large cap is, quite the flavor still.
Absolutely. And I think, again, if you talk to a lot of, market veterans, deep market experts, they say this is a very interesting time because of AI, and these companies, whether it was cloud, digitization, they've all managed to sort of, overcome and make sure that these newer technologies add to their businesses. So can they do that with Gen AI and AI going forward? I think perhaps that could explain some of the bullishness on these companies, the larger ones at least, despite the fact that the near-term revenue outlook isn't exactly lighting up the charts. But that's IT for you, and we'll keep an eye out on all of these earnings as they start trickling in the coming days. But for the time being, it's a good time to actually get some trading ideas going. The market's very buoyant, lots of green on the screen. Sudeep Shah of SBI Securities is joining in. Sudeep, we want to get to your trades, but before that, since, Rima and I were just discussing IT stocks, fundamentals aside, what do the charts indicate? Do you see a trade on any of the IT names as we get into this big news season in terms of earnings?
Yeah, good morning, Sudeep. Absolutely. See, firstly, let's just have a look at Nifty IT, how it is placed. In the last few months, we are seeing some kind of a downward momentum in Nifty IT, and specifically the large cap side of the business. Now, if we just see the rollovers which have just happened on Thursday, if you see within the IT space, it is only LTTS and Oracle Financial Services, OFSS, which have had above average rollover. So apart from that, all the large cap stocks have witnessed some shorting, and so that is the reason I feel overall till the time Nifty IT is below 35,300, 35,350, there could still be some pressure. And even for Infosys also, despite today's the tax news, the stock is not able to sustain above 1540, 1545 levels, where there was a gap left on 22nd March. So I feel for Nifty IT, 35,300, and for Infosys, 1540. Both are very important levels to cross, and then only we could see at the tide changing for the Nifty IT.
By the way, even as the markets went on to hit new highs, the Nifty IT index is still 9% away from its all-time high level, a little more than 9% right now. And it also, in the last few days, erased all its year-to-date gains. So year-to-date, the Nifty IT index is actually down 1.5%. But, Sudeep, you want to take us through the Nifty call now? What are you seeing on the charts? And then your stock recommendations.
Yeah. Rima, what we feel is that Nifty posed a strong closing on Thursday. We've ended the year on a strong note and have even begun the year fresh fiscal year on a very encouraging note. So from here on, I feel Nifty support zones are around 22,300, 22,350. We are seeing strong put writing since in the morning today. 22,300, 22,400, all the strike prices are seeing aggressive writing. So overall, I feel 22,300, 22,350 will act as a strong support. Until the time indices are sustaining above these levels, we could see higher levels of 22,600, 22,700 in the coming few sessions.
Okay. All right. Also, any other trades, anything in the broader market that's coming up on your radar, considering it's such a vibrant market? What would you like to leave us with?
Yeah, see, there are two stocks that I like. The first one is DLF. We are seeing real estate stocks uh, coming up with a bang, and we are, a lot of open interest on the long side has been built up in most of the real estate names. Now, if case DLF looks very strong from the current levels. We've seen strong rollovers in DLF on Thursday, and even at the current levels, the stock has broken above its previous swing resistance of 939. And till the time 925 holds, I feel DLF could do 975, 980 on the upside. And strong momentum is visible across the metal names. So if you see JSW Steel, the stock has broken out of a 3 months consolidation above 850. And till the time it stays above 850, feel that higher levels of 900, 920 could be visible here in the coming few sessions.
Okay, thank you very much for joining in. Get into a break. On the other side, we'll discuss commodities. Manisha Gupta joins in.
Welcome back. Okay, let's tell you a little bit about the stocks that are on the move as well. Look at the mid-cap screen. It's really buzzing. 1.3% up on the mid-cap index. Now, some of the gainers are because of news. For instance, PNB Housing Finance, and that's an entity that's got a ratings upgrade. So the market's very excited about it. And we'll get Abhishek in a bit to tell us a little more details on it. PNB Housing is a stock. Yeah, it's 12.5% higher. But even beyond, look at something like GE Power, Torrent Power, Repco Home Finance. It's just a long list of stocks. Puravankara is having an excellent session today, 6.5% up on Puravankara. So these are some of the names that are seeing a lot of interesting price action. If I talk about price plus volumes and see what's moving in the market, then you have a couple of the PSU stocks that are moving all over again. NMDC Steel would be an example. NBCC would be an example. And then you have some of the PSU banks like IOB, which are, that's PSU Bank Index up 1.5%. Individual names like IOB are having a very good session today. So once again, PSUs are a good party once again on the street as the new financial year FY25 kicks off. Well, with that, let's shift focus to the commodity universe now. Manisha Gupta is joining in, and today she's looking at copper. Manisha, morning. So what's happening in that market?
Thank you for that, Surbhi. Well, metals have been doing quite well, actually. If you look at the previous month, previous quarter as well, we are trading in the positive for all of this. And the best gains clearly have come in for the copper prices, trading very close to its one-year highs. If you look at the month of March itself, we have seen 5% of gains come in. And for the previous quarter, it is up by almost 8.5%, trading above $4 a pound on the New York markets there. And LME also is holding at around $8,900 a ton right now. Well, the markets have been running up on the back of strong Chinese data. If you look at the factory activity, we have seen expansion into that one after 5 constant months of decline. So that is a positive one. And apart from this, also the other data has been positive. So when you look at the retail sales, housing numbers, fixed income asset numbers, all of that has been on the positive side. And then the smelter output cuts, a very rare joint statement coming in from them, has been positive. But what the street was waiting for is a quantum of that. So the latest statement from the China smelters is that they're proposing a 5 to 10% of a production cut, and that has given yet another leg up in case of prices. Almost a percentage point of gain is what we've started the April with, and markets do believe that from here on copper prices could be headed higher. Citi, Bank of America are talking prices as high as $9,000, even $12,000 a ton going forward, which would be all-time high for copper prices in this year or the next. So it's going to be quite bullish 24 and 25, especially for copper.
Well, first there was gold, then oil became the new gold, then data became the new oil, and now copper is everywhere. Manisha, thank you very much for that. Let's now cut across to RBI Governor Shaktikanta Das speaking at RBI's 90th year ceremony.
For our country's economic progress. With these words, let me once again welcome the Honorable Prime Minister and the other dignitaries present in the dais, and each one of you who is present here in the audience to this commemorative event of 90 years of the Reserve Bank. Thank you. Namaskar.
अब हमारा आग्रह है माननीय वित्त मंत्री महोदया श्रीमती निर्मला सीतारमण जी से कि कृपया अपना विशेष संबोधन दें।
Respected Prime Minister, Honorable Governor of Maharashtra, Chief Minister of Maharashtra, my colleagues in the Council of Ministers, Deputy Chief Ministers of Maharashtra, Governor Reserve Bank, all invited dignitaries, media, I'm here on a very happy occasion when today we mark the 90th anniversary of Reserve Bank of India. RBI, the Central Bank of India, has actually had a remarkable checkered history. It stands tall among its peers on several counts. Once in a century pandemic, the COVID, hit us. The RBI adopted and in fact deployed conventional and unconventional range of instruments to provide liquidity and to promote growth and to ensure financial stability. The two examples that I can cite and which can stand before as a classic example are the moratorium on loan repayments and also the liquidity infusion which happened during that time. Later came the Russia-Ukraine war. RBI's measures primarily aimed at two things. One, to address the inflation and the forex market's volatility. RBI, in fact, has been one of the earliest to recognize the non-transient nature of inflation. One of the few central banks, if I may say so, to front-load policy rate hikes in particular. Forex reserve management is also something on which we have this opportune moment to recall the work done by the RBI. Building up reserves, including foreign exchange interventions. In the past few years, India's capacity to manage and also to take care of external imbalances and uncertainties have significantly improved purely because of the professional management of the RBI. Rupee has exhibited lower volatility and orderly movements is what we notice of the rupee, and they are in relative terms to the rest of its peers. Managing India's banks is something which I'll recall at this time. A decade ago, balance sheet problem, today is a balance sheet advantage, and that advantage accrues to our economy. Collaborative effort of the Government of India and RBI, the asset quality management, prompt corrective action framework are all great functions well carried out by our true regulator of the banks, Reserve Bank of India. Fiscal and monetary policy coordination. As always, the Government of India is one of the governments, like very many others, and RBI manages its debt, which is very important for government. Inflation management, despite monetary tightening pressures and the measures which have been taken for monetary tightening, has stabilized the G-Sec yields, which is very important for the economy. The stability in G-Sec markets has contributed to overall financial market resilience and investor confidence in the Indian economy. Lastly, the Bank of International Settlements, BIS, has mentioned significant role played by RBI in a very unconventional point. RBI's role in anchoring inflation expectations using communication policy is significant, is what the BIS has said. And I'm sure not one in this audience would disagree with that. Apart from forward guidance, It was used for explaining the rationale. The policy of communication management has been used for explaining the rationale for the measures taken by the RBI. Thus, in the economy, confidence was built, and then optimism, if I can say so, optimism has been held up even during pandemic, held high and never let down. So optimism building is a very beautiful function which the RBI during crisis time has handled because it adopted this unconventional instrument of communication with the people. And final word, institutional integrity is something which I would credit the RBI, and among very many central banks, India's RBI, for its institutional credibility, needs a big applause in the 90th anniversary. Thank you very much.
Okay, that's the finance minister. All praises for India's central bank, making a lot of interesting points. I've been going back in time, talking about the pivotal role that the RBI played during the COVID crisis, ensuring financial stability, adequate liquidity, and of course, ensuring adequate forex movement and less rupee volatility during times of crisis like the Ukraine war. And she ends by saying that, the institutional credibility that the RBI has managed to maintain, perhaps that deserves the biggest applause, and it does indeed. So that is the RBI celebrations underway for its 90th anniversary. We'll take a quick break. On that note, come back with a lot more on the other side, and we'll talk about a lot of the buzzing stocks that are in focus today.
Welcome back. Some small stocks which are moving around. One is GE Power. That stock has gained close to about 7 to 8% on the back of an order win. It's a small order of 35 crore from NTPC and Hindustan Zinc. So that's got the stock a bit excited. GE Power. Mishra Dhatu Nigam is the other one where there is some news. The company has recorded its highest ever direct exports in FY24 of 67 crore, which compares with 37 crore in FY23. The company in a release also goes on to say that they've recorded the highest ever sales, more than 1,000 crore for the full year. So highest ever turnover last year and plus direct exports. And since that news came out, you've seen the stock quite excited, 4.5% up on that. Let's get to some other stocks which are surging in trade. One of them is PNB Housing. That's higher on the back of positive commentary from brokerages and upgrade in rating. Abhishek joins in. And we also have Upasana joining in with us. We've got Sonal and Ekta. So, that's the entire list of all the buzzing stocks of the morning. Abhishek, you go first.
PNB Housing is in focus. There are upgrades coming in over there. So CARE has upgraded the rating to CARE AA plus from CARE AA that they had earlier. The outlook is now revised to stable from positive. Positive outlook is always given when a credit rating is expected to take place in the next round of review by rating agencies. Rating upgraded instruments include the short and long-term bank loans, NCDs, Tier 2 bonds, fixed deposits, as well as CPs, that is commercial papers. So ICRA has also upgraded the credit rating to ICRA AA plus from ICRA AA. The outlook has been revised to stable from positive. The credit rating upgrade could play a fact in in controlling the cost of funds for the company. Now Morgan Stanley has written on PNB Housing they have an overweight rating and a target price of 970 per share. They say that 4Q is seasonally a strong quarter for HFCs, both on the loan growth front as well as controlling or improving the asset quality. So valuation for PNB Housing is attractive at one-time price to book value FY25, and in terms of price to earning, it's trading at 9 times 1 year forward. Back to you.
Okay, got that. So market saluting that ratings upgrade that PNB Housing has got. Thanks for that, Abhishek. Let's move to Upasana. Now, as we told you earlier, Torrent Power is another stock that's in focus. It's up about 6%. The company has won some orders. Upasana, tell us more about it.
Well, Torrent Power remains in focus today as the company has received letter of award from one of its distribution unit, mainly for setting up 150 megawatt grid-connected wind solar hybrid project under the Green Shoe option. Well, the estimated project cost is around 1,825 crores and the contract period is about 25 years from commissioning of the project. Well, it is important to know that the LOA has been issued by only one of the unit of the company. Hence, the stock remains in focus today, up almost over 6% as we speak.
Okay, thank you very much for that. Over to Sonal now for Prestige Estates on the back of a deal with Adya and Kotak AIF. Sonal.
Well, yes, the stock is higher in trade after the deal they have entered into with Abu Dhabi Investment Authority and also Kotak AIF, where they will be raising 2,001 crore rupees. The company says this is to capitalize the opportunities that they are seeing in the residential segment. So the projects that they will commission because of this particular deal will be having a gross development value of 18,000 crore rupees. This will be in 4 cities in the state of Goa. There will be Bengaluru, which is an existing market, Mumbai and the NCR region as well. Remember, they just bought a huge land parcel in the NCR region, and that's where they plan to grow. Additionally, Mumbai is the other big market for them. So yes, the street seems to like the plan that the company has in order to grow in these geographies, and that's why the excitement on the stock today.
Yeah, the eagle's going everywhere. It landed in Mumbai, it's moved to NCR, so Prestige is really expanding pan-India. Thank you for that, Sonal. Well, let's move on and focus on the pharma sector as well. We have Lupin in focus today. Now, that stock's moving higher after the US FDA has given its approval to an anti-convulsant drug that Lupin manufactures. Ekta, tell us about the details.
Well, yes, Lupin has seen some amount of traction in today's trading session. That is because they have received the US FDA nod for a specific drug, which is basically Aptium generic, the generic version of the branded name Aptium in the US markets. Now, Lupin will be one of the first ANDA applicants, according to the company, on this particular drug, and hence could be eligible for 180-day shared exclusivity. Now, we don't know how many players will probably be sharing that exclusivity in the next 6 months for them, but nonetheless, it would be a positive for them because they would probably garner much more share in terms of sales. Now, it is a drug which is used for seizures, and this estimated sales is around $354 million. It will be manufactured at the company's Pithampur facility.
Okay, thank you very much for that. Back to RBI's 90th year celebrations. The Prime Minister is now speaking. Let's cut across.
सरकार के उप मुख्यमंत्री देवेंद्र जी, अजीत जी, रिजर्व बैंक के गवर्नर शक्तिकांत दास जी, रिजर्व बैंक ऑफ इंडिया के अधिकारी, अन्य महानुभाव, देवी और सज्जनों, आज भारत का रिजर्व बैंक एक ऐतिहासिक पड़ाव पर पहुंचा है। आरबीआई ने अपने 90 इयर्स पूरे किए हैं। एक संस्थान के रूप में आरबीआई आजादी के पहले और आजादी के बाद दोनों ही कालखंड का गवाह है। आज पूरी दुनिया में आरबीआई की पहचान उसके प्रोफेशनलिज्म और कमिटमेंट की वजह से बनी है। मैं आप सभी को, रिजर्व बैंक ऑफ इंडिया के सभी कर्मचारियों और अधिकारियों को आरबीआई की स्थापना के 90 इयर्स की बधाई देता हूं। और इस समय जो लोग आरबीआई से जुड़े हैं, उन्हें मैं बहुत सौभाग्यशाली मानता हूं। आज आप जो नीतियां बनाएंगे, जो काम करेंगे, उनसे आरबीआई के अगले दशक की दिशा तय होगी। ये दशक इस संस्थान को उसके शताब्दी वर्ष तक ले जाने वाला दशक है, और ये दशक विकसित भारत की संकल्प यात्रा के लिए भी उतना ही अहम है। और इसके लिए जैसा आप लोगों का मंत्र है, आरबीआई को तेज ग्रोथ को सर्वोच्च प्राथमिकता देते हुए ट्रस्ट और स्टेबिलिटी पर भी उतना ही फोकस करना है। मैं आरबीआई को उसके लक्ष्यों और संकल्पों के लिए भी शुभकामनाएं देता हूं। साथियों, आप सभी अपनी फील्ड के एक्सपर्ट्स हैं। आप जानते हैं कि देश की अर्थव्यवस्था, हमारी जीडीपी काफी हद तक मॉनेटरी और फिस्कल पॉलिसीज के कोऑर्डिनेशन पर निर्भर करती है। मुझे याद है जब 2014 में रिजर्व बैंक के 80वें वर्ष के कार्यक्रम में आया था, तब हालात एकदम अलग थे। भारत का पूरा बैंकिंग सेक्टर समस्याओं और चुनौतियों से जूझ रहा था। एनपीए को लेकर, भारत के बैंकिंग सिस्टम की स्टेबिलिटी और उसके भविष्य को लेकर हर कोई आशंका से भरा हुआ था। हालात इतनी खराब थी कि पब्लिक सेक्टर बैंक्स देश की आर्थिक प्रगति को जरूरी गति नहीं दे पा रहे थे। हम सभी ने वहां से शुरुआत की और आज देखिए, आज भारत के बैंकिंग सिस्टम को दुनिया में एक स्ट्रांग और सस्टेनेबल सिस्टम माना जा रहा है। जो बैंकिंग सिस्टम कभी डूबने की कगार पर था, वो बैंकिंग सिस्टम अब प्रॉफिट में आ गया है और क्रेडिट में रिकॉर्ड वृद्धि दिखा रहा है। फ्रेंड्स, आप भी जानते हैं कि सिर्फ 10 साल में इतना बड़ा परिवर्तन आना आसान नहीं था। ये बदलाव इसलिए आया क्योंकि हमारी नीति, नियत और निर्णयों में स्पष्टता थी। ये बदलाव इसलिए आया क्योंकि हमारे प्रयासों में दृढ़ता थी, ईमानदारी थी। आज देश देख रहा है, जब नीयत सही होती है तो नीति सही होती है। जब नीति सही होती है तो निर्णय सही होते हैं, और जब निर्णय सही होते हैं तो नतीजे सही मिलते हैं। इन शॉर्ट, मैं यही कहना चाहता हूं, नीयत सही तो नतीजे सही। कैसे देश का बैंकिंग सिस्टम ट्रांसफॉर्म हुआ, ये अपने आप में एक स्टडी का विषय है। हमने कोई भी सिरा ऐसा नहीं था जिसे ऐसे ही छोड़ दिया हो। हमारी सरकार ने रिकॉग्निशन, रिजोल्यूशन और रिकैपिटलाइजेशन की रणनीति पर काम किया। पब्लिक सेक्टर बैंक के हालात सुधारने के लिए सरकार ने करीब 3.5 लाख करोड़ का कैपिटल इन्फ्यूजन किया और साथ ही गवर्नेंस संबंधी कई रिफॉर्म्स भी किए। अकेले इंसॉल्वेंसी एंड बैंक्रप्सी कोड की नई व्यवस्था से ही करीब 3.25 लाख करोड़ के लोन्स रिजॉल्व हुए। और एक आंकड़ा देशवासियों को जरूर जानना जरूरी है। 27,000 से ज्यादा ऐसी एप्लीकेशंस जिसमें 9 लाख करोड़ रुपए से ज्यादा का अंडरलाइंग डिफॉल्ट था, वो आईबीसी में एडमिशन से पहले ही रिजॉल्व हो गई। ये दिखाता है कि इस नई व्यवस्था का सामर्थ्य कितना ज्यादा है। बैंकों का जो ग्रॉस एनपीए 2018 में 11.25% के आसपास था, वो सितंबर 2023 आते आते 3% से भी कम हो गया। आज ट्विन बैलेंस शीट की समस्या अतीत का हिस्सा हो चुकी है। आज बैंक की क्रेडिट ग्रोथ 15% तक हो गई है और मैं इन सभी उपलब्धियों में आरबीआई की सहभागीदारी और प्रयासों की भी बहुत बड़ी भूमिका रही है और वो बधाई के पात्र हैं। साथियों, आरबीआई जैसे संस्थान के बारे में चर्चा अक्सर फाइनेंशियल डेफिनेशन और कठिन टर्मिनोलॉजीज तक ही सीमित रह जाती है। आपका कार्य जितना जटिल है उसमें यह स्वाभाविक भी है, लेकिन आप जो काम करते हैं उससे देश के सामान्य मानव का जीवन सीधे तौर पर प्रभावित होता है। बीते 10 वर्षों में हमने सेंट्रल बैंक, बैंकिंग सिस्टम और अंतिम पायदान पर खड़े व्यक्ति के बीच इस कनेक्ट को हाईलाइट किया है। गरीबों का फाइनेंशियल इंक्लूजन आज इसका बहुत बड़ा उदाहरण है। आज देश में 52 करोड़ जनधन खाते हैं। इनमें भी 55% से ज्यादा खाते महिलाओं के नाम पर है। इसी फाइनेंशियल इंक्लूजन का प्रभाव आप एग्रीकल्चर और फिशरीज जैसे सेक्टर्स में भी देख सकते हैं। आज 7 करोड़ से ज्यादा फार्मर्स, फिशरमैन और पशुपालक के पास किसान क्रेडिट कार्ड्स हैं। इससे हमारी रूरल इकोनॉमी को एक बहुत बड़ा पुश मिला है। कोऑपरेटिव सेक्टर को भी पिछले 10 वर्षों में बड़ा बूस्ट मिला है। सहकारिता में कोऑपरेटिव बैंक की एक बहुत बड़ी भूमिका होती है और ये रिजर्व बैंक के रेगुलेशन और सुपरविजन का एक महत्वपूर्ण क्षेत्र भी है। यूपीआई आज एक ग्लोबली रिकॉग्नाइज्ड प्लेटफॉर्म बन चुका है। इस पर हर महीने 1200 करोड़ से ज्यादा ट्रांजैक्शन हो रहे हैं। अभी आप लोग सेंट्रल बैंक डिजिटल करेंसी पर भी काम कर रहे हैं। यानी पिछले 10 वर्षों में हुए ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन की एक तस्वीर ये भी है। एक दशक के भीतर ही हम पूरी तरह से एक नई बैंकिंग व्यवस्था, एक नई अर्थव्यवस्था और नए करेंसी एक्सपीरियंस में प्रवेश कर चुके हैं। और जैसा मैंने पहले कहा है, पिछले 10 साल में जो हुआ वो तो सिर्फ ट्रेलर है। अभी तो बहुत कुछ करना है। अभी तो हमें देश को बहुत आगे लेकर जाना है। साथियों, बहुत जरूरी है कि हमारे पास अगले 10 साल के लक्ष्य बिल्कुल स्पष्ट हो। हमें मिलकर अगले 10 साल में डिजिटल ट्रांजैक्शन की संभावनाओं को विस्तार देना होगा। हमें कैशलेस इकोनॉमी से आ रहे इन बदलावों पर नजर भी रखनी होगी। हमें फाइनेंशियल इंक्लूजन और एम्पावरिंग एफर्ट्स को भी और बेहतर करना होगा। साथियों, इतनी बड़ी जनसंख्या की बैंकिंग नीड्स भी अलग अलग हो सकती है। कई लोग फिजिकल ब्रांच मॉडल को पसंद करते हैं, कई लोगों को डिजिटल डिलीवरी पसंद होती है। देश को ऐसी नीतियां बनाने की जरूरत है जिससे ईज ऑफ डूइंग बैंकिंग बेहतर हो और सभी को उनकी जरूरत के अनुसार क्रेडिट एक्सेस मिल सके। डीपीआई के क्षेत्र में भारत को अग्रणी बनाने के लिए हमें आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस, मशीन लर्निंग की निरंतर मदद लेनी चाहिए। भारत की प्रगति तेज गति से हो, इंक्लूसिव हो, सस्टेनेबल हो, इसके लिए रिजर्व बैंक को लगातार कदम उठाते रहने होंगे। एक रेगुलेटर के तौर पर आरबीआई ने बैंकिंग सेक्टर में रूल बेस्ड डिसिप्लिन और फाइनेंशियली प्रूडेंशियल प्रैक्टिसेस को सुनिश्चित कराया है। लेकिन इसके साथ ही ये भी आवश्यक है कि आरबीआई विभिन्न सेक्टर्स की भविष्य की जरूरतों का आकलन करते हुए अभी से तैयारी करे, बैंकों को प्रोत्साहित करे, प्रोएक्टिव कदम उठाए। मैं आपको विश्वास दिलाता हूं कि सरकार आपके साथ है। आपको याद होगा 10 साल पहले डबल डिजिट की महंगाई से निपटने का रिफ्लेक्शन तब की फाइनेंशियल पॉलिसीज में नहीं दिखता था। इससे निपटने के लिए हमारी सरकार ने रिजर्व बैंक ऑफ इंडिया को इन्फ्लेशन टारगेटिंग का अधिकार दिया। मॉनेटरी पॉलिसी कमेटी ने इस मैंडेट पर बहुत अच्छे ढंग से काम भी किया। साथ ही साथ सरकार ने एक्टिव प्राइस मॉनिटरिंग और फिस्कल कंसोलिडेशन, इसके भी कदम उठाए। इसलिए कोरोना संकट हो, अलग अलग देशों में युद्ध की स्थिति हो, तनाव हो, भारत में इन्फ्लेशन मॉडरेट लेवल पर ही रही। साथियों, जिस देश की प्रायोरिटी स्पष्ट हो उसे प्रोग्रेस करने से कोई नहीं रोक सकता। हमने कोरोना के दौरान फाइनेंशियल प्रूडेंस की चिंता भी की और सामान्य नागरिक के जीवन को भी सर्वोच्च प्राथमिकता दी। यही वजह है कि भारत का गरीब, भारत का मिडिल क्लास उस आपदा से उबरकर अब अर्थव्यवस्था को गति दे रहा है। दुनिया के बड़े बड़े देश जहां अभी तक उस झटके से उबरने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं, वहीं इंडियन इकोनॉमी नए रिकॉर्ड बना रही है। भारत की सफलता को आरबीआई वैश्विक स्तर पर ले जा सकता है। इन्फ्लेशन कंट्रोल और ग्रोथ में एक बैलेंस बनाना किसी भी डेवलपिंग कंट्री की बहुत यूनिक जरूरत होती है। इससे निपटने के लिए कौन कौन से मॉनेटरी टूल्स हो सकते हैं, इसके बारे में सोचना बहुत आवश्यक है। आरबीआई इसके लिए एक मॉडल बनकर ग्लोबल लीडरशिप की भूमिका निभा सकता है। और ये बात मैं 10 साल के अनुभव के बाद कहता हूं, और ये बात दुनिया को निकट से जानने समझने के बाद कह रहा हूं। और इससे पूरे ग्लोबल साउथ को बहुत बड़ी मदद मिल सकती है। फ्रेंड्स, अगले 10 साल के टारगेट तो तय करते हुए हमें एक बात और ध्यान रखनी है, वो है भारत के युवाओं की एस्पिरेशंस। भारत आज दुनिया के सबसे युवा देशों में से एक है। इस युवा
All right, that is the Prime Minister of India talking about the role the Reserve Bank of India has played, not just post-independence, but pre-independence, and of course saying that the RBI policy path is going to be critical as India looks forward to meeting its objective of Viksit Bharat, and as we move towards the 100th year of independence. It's of course also outlining the change in the Indian banking sector from the days of very high NPAs when he says the government came to power, to now where NPA levels have come under control and credit growth has been very, very strong and robust. We'll take a break on that note, come back on the other side, lots more coming up. We'll get back to the markets. So we have Manish Jain of Centrum joining in with some interesting thoughts on the fundamentals. So we'll dial into that conversation in just a bit.
Welcome back. It's steady, a gain of about 0.6% on the benchmark indices, but off from the record high that we hit of 22,530. From that level, we've given up close to about 60 points, but still very strong and steady. Mid-caps are outperforming, 1.5% up on that index, with the advanced decline ratio boasting of 2,100 stocks in the green. Manish Jain, the head of management, PMS, equity advisory at Centrum, is now with us, and he's going to talk about the analysis that he's done of the market performance pre-post election. Manish, thank you very much for that. So start with that, right? What does history tell us about the correlation between market performance and elections?
So it's a very interesting point that we are at a, in this juncture as far as the whole market's journey is concerned, where everybody's waiting for the next trigger. March was obviously a little bit topsy-turvy, largely because of a little bit of concern on valuation, RBI, SEBI overreach on that. But I think things are looking to get settled now, where people are going to now incrementally look at more and more going into the future on two major events. One is going to be the post-result commentary on FY25 that the companies are going to make. And the second thing is going to be on the elections and election results and what happens over there. Now, a lot of conjecturing is being made whether, if the present incumbent government comes back to power, say, with a lower mandate, with a higher mandate, what happens over there. And what we've discovered when you look at, in general, the last 30 years or sort of data, is the fact that there seems to be very little correlation over a long-term period over the kind of government that comes into power versus what the market expectations are. So if you look at it, when the market has been negatively surprised in the ensuing 5 years of that, say between 2005 to 2009, the market performance was spectacular. But when you look at 2014 to 2019, when the market was very, very positively surprised with the election results, the overall market performance was very, very muted. So per se, over a very long period of time, it's the economic policies which kind of define the market direction rather than the incumbent government. But over a very short period of time, say in between 3 to 6 months, as long as there's political stability, as long as there is no coalition government that comes into power, and as long as there's continuation in policies, the market typically tends to do well. And whenever there has been a stability in political environment, those are the times when overall GDP growth rate, the overall economy has kind of done well, and resultant of which the market has done well. So I think from a next 3 to 5 year perspective, given the spectrum of the election results that we are kind of staring at, I think the market should broadly be okay and do well.
Okay, yeah, that's an interesting study, Manish, that your team put together, and it's really helpful, right? Gives us just perspective going back in history and seeing if there are correlations. And frankly, as your study points out, there aren't any. As long as you have a stable government, the market's fine. So, if we take that out of the equation, then a lot of the other factors seem very, very rosy. In fact, some will argue it's almost too good to be true, right? Earnings growth has been steady. Lots of retail, flows are coming in. Corrections are getting snapped up. They're getting shallower and shallower, not even 5%. So are you still in a full bull camp? Or do you think there's something on the horizon that could kind of, offer some more volatility?
Absolutely in the bull camp from a 2 to 3 year perspective, but I think FY25 or rather CY24 is going to be a little more volatile than what we've witnessed in the last couple of years. CY22 was like a dead man's ECG. It was like absolutely a flat line while we were climbing the mountain in 23. This is going to be the year where there are going to be concerns that are going to play out in the absolute near term, which the market is not looking at right now. So, for example, Q1 and Q2 earnings growth could be very, very tough. From what we are looking at, people are building in anywhere between 1100 to 1150 sort of an EPS from Nifty perspective for FY25, which is roughly a low double-digit kind of a growth. Now, that could be very difficult given that margin expansion will be now history, but overall consumption growth does not seem to be picking up, especially at the mass market level. So if Q1 and Q2 are a little challenging and the growth is going to be more back-ended, then that could be one interesting factor to kind of watch out for, which could lend market a little bit of a volatility. But like I said, given that I'm in a bull camp from a 2 to 3 year perspective, every correction that happens, I would go shopping and I would buy quality companies from a 2-3 year perspective, and there are enough. If you do a proper bottom-up analysis, even in these markets, doesn't matter what people are talking about from a valuation perspective, I think there are still, even in the mid and the small cap genre, there are still ideas which can be looked at very, very favorably.
So you're saying that on every correction, you would bring out your shopping basket. I was looking at your portfolio, and one of the stocks, one of your top 10 holdings is AU Small Finance Bank. And that stock has had a rough start to 2024. I think it's down 26% from the beginning of 2024. So in this correction that's taking place in AU Small Finance Bank, have you bought, and what makes you keep the faith on that particular counter?
So overall, we continue to remain very constructive as far as BFSI is concerned. Obviously, the strategy is going to be not as homogeneous as, say, it is going to be in large cap IT, right? Large cap IT, if I go shopping today, I'll probably end up buying everything and anything because the view that we have is that much more bullish over there. But here, if you look at it, even in the large cap IT space, there are a couple of names which are very mouth-watering. They are at a 10-year low valuation levels, and I would definitely look at buying them from a 3-year perspective. Does not matter what people are talking about from absolute near 2-3 quarters perspective. There is always light at the end of the tunnel. We as human beings tend to overplay the concerns in our mind. And even when you look at the small finance banking space or NBFC space, that's again another space where we have been continuously adding, weight in the portfolio in this current correction. So autos, BFSI, and IT, these are the 3 spaces where we continue to remain absolutely constructive.
Very quickly, Manish, we only have 10 seconds left on the chat, but I think in your mid-cap strategy, there are quite a few interesting stocks, and some of them represent consumption, urban discretionary consumption, the likes of Sula. Now, Trent, I don't know where to put it. It's not really discretionary, but what they've done with Zudio is mass level, and yet, what a story that one's become. Just leave us with your thoughts on consumption and, in general, anything else that you're any trends that you're analyzing in the mid-cap space that you like.
Discretionary consumption, leverage consumption, urban consumption. Those are the areas which will continue to do well. Not very bullish on mass market consumption.
Okay. Out of time. Thank you very much for joining in. As we slip into a break, we have an announcement to share with all of you. We are launching CNBC TV18's first ever live personal finance webinar, CNBC TV18 Accelerate, Personal Finance Handbook with Sonia Shenoy, where she will be joined by 3 well-known experts on Saturday, 11th of May, 9 a.m. onwards. We will be diving into everything you need to know to master your finances and learn how to grow your wealth. Be it insurance, tax saving, managing your portfolio, retirement planning. There's lots to learn and lots to do. Whether you're in your 20s, 30s or even 40s, this live webinar is for you. We have limited seats, so don't miss this chance. Register now. Scan the QR code to register or log on to CNBC-TV18.com and we will see you on the 11th of May.
Welcome back. It's green on the screen, and it's the mid-cap index that's roaring away now with a 1.5% gain. But Bank Nifty is not bad. Nifty is not bad either. But it's time for Rima and I to take our viewers' leave now.
Oh, absolutely. But before that, here's a quick programming note. CNBC TV18 presents India Exchange, where market experts, industry stalwarts will collaborate in an insightful discussion on India's economic path and the evolving dynamics of the Indian market. Don't miss out on this one. Tune in to CNBC TV18, 4th April, 5:30 p.m. onwards.